St. Louis, Missouri. November 1866. The American Midwest just after the Civil War. Stop for a moment. Close your eyes and try to smell this city. It is not the smell of progress. It is the smell of an open wound trying to heal with gunpowder and mud. The air is a dense, brown, hot soup. It smells of coal burning in industrial furnaces. It smells of the manure of thousands of horses and mules pulling the country's economy. It smells of cheap tobacco, counterfeit whiskey, and the sweat of desperate men. The Mississippi River runs in the background, dark, carrying the continent's silt, indifferent to who lives or dies on its banks. The sun here doesn't caress, it assaults. Even in November, there is a weight in the air. The city is an anthill of war veterans, newly freed slaves, Irish immigrants, and opportunists. Everyone looking for one thing, to survive the peace. Because war, ... War was simple. You killed or you died. Peace is complicated. Peace requires money. Peace requires a name. Peace requires a place that, for people like Cathay, does not exist. In the middle of this sensory chaos, listen to the sound. Thump, thump. It isn't a heart beating. It is boots. Heavy military boots with leather soles and iron hobnails striking against the gravel of Jefferson Barracks. The sound of the American war machine reorganizing itself. The sound of authority. The sound of men who have a purpose, a rank, and a rifle. And on the margins of this noise, invisible to history, is she. Cathay Williams, 22 years old. Black, tall, taller than many men, standing 5'9", broad shoulders, sculpted by years of carrying burdens that would break a mule. Eyes that have seen things that would make a priest lose his faith. She isn't marching. She is washing, hands plunged into boiling water and lye, scrubbing blue uniforms dirty with grease, dried blood, and the red dust of the West. She is a civilian, a laundress, a nobody. But look at her posture. She doesn't bow like someone apologizing for existing. Her spine is erect. Her chin is up, while she wrings out the thick fabric of the uniform, feeling the rough texture of the wet wool. She watches the soldiers. She sees the Springfield rifles gleaming in the sun. She sees the respect the blue uniform commands in the streets. When a soldier passes, people make way. When she passes, people look right through her, as if she were made of dirty glass. She sees the salary being paid in silver coins and greenbacks, and she feels something dangerous growing in her stomach. It isn't hunger for food. It is hunger for power. Hunger to stop being a thing and become a somebody. Hunger for security. But the world of 1866 has a clear rule, written in blood and law. This power belongs to men. For a black woman, the destiny is the washtub or the kitchen. Full stop. There is no third option. Cathay looks at the empty uniform in her hands. She slips her hand into the wet sleeve. The fabric is heavy, protective. She looks at the soldiers marching, and she thinks, what if this uniform wasn't empty? What if I were inside it? It is an insane thought suicidal, imposible, the kind of thought that gets you committed or killed. But Cathay Williams is not an ordinary woman. She is a survivor of the apocalypse. To understand why she would do something so crazy, you need to understand where she came from. Cathay was not born free. She was born property. Independence, Missouri. House, slave. But domestic life ended when the Civil War exploded. in 1861. The world she knew burned. When Union troops invaded Missouri, they didn't free the slaves immediately. They confiscated them. The legal term was contraband of war. Think about that. Think about the violence of those words. She ceased to be the property of a farmer to become the property of the United States Army. She was ripped from home while still a teenager and thrown into the rear of a marching army. She wasn't a citizen. She was a logistical resource. This wasn't a sightseeing trip. She accompanied the 8th India Infantry Regiment. She marched through Arkansas, Louisiana, Georgia. She served under the command of General Philip Sheridan, a man known for burning everything he saw in front of him. She saw scorched earth before the term was even famous. Imagine what a teenager saw. She saw the Battle of Pea Ridge, the sound of cannons bursting eardrums, making the ground vibrate like a drum, the sickly sweet smell of gangrene in field hospitals, a smell that stays in your nose for days. She saw piles of amputated legs and arms outside medical tents, like stacked firewood, attracting swarms of green flies. She cooked for soldiers while the ground shook with mortars, holding the pot so the soup wouldn't spill with the explosions. She learned to sleep on the hard ground, in the rain, in the snow, wrapped in a thin blanket infested with lice. She learned that human life is worth less than rifle ammunition. The war took her innocence, but it gave something in return: resilience of steel. She saw men cry, break, desert in the middle of the night, screaming for their mothers. She didn't break. She kept washing, kept cooking, kept marching. She realized a fundamental truth, a dangerous truth. I am as strong as they are. I can handle more pain than they can. They cry when the coffee runs out. I never had coffee. 1865. The war ends. The 13th Amendment abolishes slavery. Cathay is free. But what is freedom without money? What is freedom in a country that hates you? She returns to St. Louis, tries to live as a laundress. The work breaks her back. The pay is misery. Security is zero. Any man can break into her house. Any policeman can arrest her for vagrancy, and then Congress approves the creation of 6 regiments of black soldiers. The Buffalo Soldiers. The 38th Infantry Regiment is recruiting in St. Louis. She sees the posters nailed to poles. She sees black men, many former slaves like her, enlisting. They earn $13 a month. They get food 3 times a day, dry quarters, clothes that aren't rags, medical care, and most importantly, they get a gun and the right to use it. They get permission to look a white man in the eye. Kete. That's the math of survival. As a laundress, poverty, risk of rape, hunger, invisibility, slow death. As a soldier, money, respect, weapon, belonging, quick death, or glory. There is only one obstacle. A small biological detail. She is a woman. She looks at the cracked mirror in her rented room. The candle flame flickers. She looks at her own body, touches her shoulders, touches her face. This is just meat, she thinks. If I change the packaging, will they buy the product? The decision is made. Cathay Williams is going to die tonight so that a soldier can be born tomorrow. The transformation doesn't happen by magic. It is a surgical, calculated, and painful process. Cathay knows it's not enough to wear pants. She needs to erase the woman. She needs to murder her own female identity. She grabs a dull pair of scissors. In front of the mirror, by candlelight, her hand trembles for a second, then steadies. She cuts. Curls fall to the floor. She shaves the sides with an old razor, without soap, feeling the blade scrape her skin. She leaves it short, irregular, practical. Her face changes. Her cheekbones pop. Her neck becomes exposed, strong, muscular. She doesn't look beautiful. She looks dangerous. She looks like someone who has nothing to lose. The biggest risk is the body, the silhouette. She takes strips of thick cotton cloth. She wraps them around her chest. She pulls. The air leaves her lungs. She pulls harder. Her ribs protest. Her sternum cracks. She ties a knot. She looks in the mirror. Her chest is flat, hard, but breathing becomes difficult. Every deep breath is a fight against the fabric. I will have to live without air, she decides. Breathing deeply is a luxury I cannot have. She needs a name. She doesn't want to invent something she can't remember under pressure, under gunfire. She looks at her own name, Cathay Williams. She flips it. William Cathay. Simple. Brilliant. Close enough to the truth for her to answer quickly if someone calls in the middle of chaos. Far enough to be someone else. She trains the performance. She walks around the small room. Women walk with their hips. The center of gravity floats. Men walk with their shoulders. The weight falls on the heels, planting into the ground. Stomp, stomp, stomp. She deepens her voice. She practices speaking low, guttural. She learns to spit out of the side of her mouth. She learns to look a man in the eye without looking away, not like a submissive woman, but like a defiant equal. She studies how men sit, legs spread, taking up space, as if they owned the world. November 15th, 1866. The day of the test, she walks to the recruitment station. The line is full of men. The smell of testosterone, old tobacco, and anxiety. She joins the line. She is taller than the man in front of her. No one looks twice. They see the baggy pants. They see the short hair. They see the emotional scar in the eyes. Their brain fills in the gap. It's a man. Prejudice works in her favor. They can't imagine a black woman in that place, so they simply don't see one. She reaches Captain Charles E. Clark's desk. The officer is tired, bureaucratic. He wants to fill the regiment's quota and go home for dinner. He doesn't even look up. Name William Cathay. The voice comes out raspy. Perfect, without hesitation. Age, 22. Occupation, cookie. The moment of truth. The medical exam. Her heart stops. If the doctor asks her to take off her shirt, it's over. If he does a full exam, it's over. She could be arrested, ridiculed, morally lynched right there. The army doctor looks at her. He sees a tall, strong, apparently healthy black man. In those days, racism played in her favor in this bizarre moment. Exams on black recruits were often superficial, done with haste and disgust. Open your mouth. Good teeth. Extend your hands. Strong, calloused hands. Walk to the wall. She marches, heavy, hard. The doctor signs the paper. Fit. The stamp hits the table. Bam. That sound was the sound of a historic barrier being broken, but there was no applause. There was only the sound of the pen scratching the enlistment paper. William Cathay is now a soldier of the 38th Infantry Regiment of the United States. Enlistment number and rifle Guaranteed. She left the room holding her breath, feeling cold sweat run down her bound back. Getting in was the easy part. Staying, that was hell. Imagine living in a spy thriller, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 2 years, where any slip, any wrong breath, means the end. The 38th Regiment is sent out west. Kansas, New Mexico, the wild frontier. The mission: protect stagecoach routes, build forts, and fight against the Apache and Comanche natives. It is not a comfortable barracks life. It is a life of marching. It is a life of dust. The logistics of the secret are brutal. Cathay lives surrounded by men. She sleeps in cramped tents, shoulder to shoulder with other soldiers. The smell of sweat, dirty feet, tobacco, flatulence. She sleeps in full uniform. Always. She never takes off her pants, never takes off her undershirt. She says she feels very cold, that she had yellow fever in the past, and the chills come back at night. William is cold-blooded. The others mock, throwing socks at her. She sleeps with a knife in her boot, hand on the hilt. She trains her brain to wake up at the slightest touch. If someone bumps her chest during the night and feels the bang, it's over. She lives in a state of constant semi-wake. Soldiers take communal baths in rivers when they can. Naked, loud, throwing water at each other. Cathay always has an excuse. I'll go later. I'm on guard duty. I'm not feeling well. She washes in the dark before dawn, using a bucket and a cloth. Shivering with cold in the desert, washing menstrual blood from old rags, she hides at the bottom of her knapsack, burying the dirty rags far from camp as if hiding a crime. Imagine the tension of washing these rags in the river, hearing a twig snap, looking sideways, praying no one appears. The fear of discovery is greater than the fear of Apache arrows. Urinating. Men do it anywhere. Standing up, marking territory. Cathay needs to sit. She develops a bladder of steel. She holds it for hours, marching miles with acute abdominal pain. She runs to distant bushes. William has a shy bladder. They laugh. William is a lady, they joke, not knowing how close to the truth they are. She laughs along. A coarse, forced laugh. But inside, she is in constant panic. And on top of all that, she has to be a soldier. Carry a 9-pound Springfield musket, powder, lead, canteen, bayonet. March 20 miles a day under the desert sun that cooks the brain inside the skull. Dig trenches until her hands bleed. Build forts carrying logs. She cannot show weakness. Women are viewed as the weaker sex. If she faints, they will open her shirt to give her air. So she endures pain that would make men cry. Blisters on her feet that burst and infect mosso cramps. Back pain from the tight bandages on her chest, cutting off circulation. She clenches her teeth and marches, one foot in front of the other. Repeat, repeat, repeat. But it's not just marching. There is combat. The 38th Regiment didn't go west to sightsee. They went to fight. And Cathay fought. Picture the scene. An Apache ambush. Chaos. Arrows whizzing. The sergeant shouting orders. Cathay raises the rifle. The recoil of the weapon kicks her shoulder violently. The smell of sulfur, the white smoke that blinds. She doesn't scream high. She roars. She loads, aims, and fires. She sees men fall beside her. She sees blood, and she keeps going. She proves under fire that courage is not in anatomy, and the most incredible thing happens. She is good at it. She shoots well. She obeys orders. She never complains. The men of the regiment, the sergeant, the corporals, begin to respect her. William Cathay is a good soldier, say the official reports. He is quiet, but he does the job. He is reliable. They respect the mask. They look at her and see a brother in arms. They share tobacco with her. They tell dirty jokes near her. She becomes one of the boys. No one, not in a million years, suspects that that soldier covered in dust is a woman. She hacked their minds. She became invisible in plain sight. How many times have you had to wear a mask to survive in a hostile environment? How many times have you had to pretend to be stronger, colder, or different from who you really are, just to have a chance to sit at the table? If you understand the weight of carrying two identities, the one the world sees and the one you really are, smash the like button now. We see you. We know the cost of that energy. But biology is relentless. Cathay's spirit is indestructible, but flesh is human. The chronic stress of living two lives begins to take its toll. Her immune system fails. The body screams, enough. First, smallpox. She contracts the disease, high fever, pustules. She is admitted to the hospital. How did she hide the secret during smallpox? Probably she refused to be undressed, fought off the nurses in her delirium, or overcrowding and fear of contagion made the doctors keep their distance. She survives. She goes back to the front line. But she is weak. The virus left marks. New Mexico, 1867, 1868. The heat is brutal. The night cold is cutting. The marshes are endless. Her body starts to break. Neuralgia, nerve pain that feels like constant electric shocks. Severe rheumatism. Joints swell. The chest bandages cause chronic respiratory problems. She coughs blood. October 1868. Fort Bayard. She can no longer get up for morning roll call. The back pain is fever burns her skin. She tries to stand, but her legs fail. She falls on the barracks floor. Her comrades, worried, carry her to the fort hospital. This time, there is no escape. She is too unconscious to protest. The post surgeon, Dr. Charles E. Davis, takes the case. He is not negligent like the recruitment doctor. He sees a gravely ill soldier. He orders the patient undressed for a full exam. Nurses approach with scissors. Cathay is too weak to fight. They take off the heavy blue coat, take off the dirty flannel shirt. They see the bandage. They cut the bandages. The silence in the exam room. Imagine the doctor's face, the shock, the denial, his brain trying to process the image. What is this? There, on the medical table of the United States Army, in the middle of a frontier fort, is a woman. The 2-year secret explodes in seconds. The illusion falls apart. The news runs through the fort like a wildfire in dry straw. Captain Clark is summoned. William Cath is a woman. They can't believe it. They search her things. They realize they were fooled by an illiterate laundress. Their masculinity feels threatened. How did we not see? How did we not notice? The military institution's reaction is immediate and cold. There is no admiration for her courage, no medal for enduring what she endured. There is only shame, anger, and bureaucracy. Her presence is an illegality. It is a stain on the regiment's honor. The orders are clear. Get rid of her. Make her disappear. October 14th, 1868. Cathay receives her final document certificate of disability for discharge. The listed cars, physically unfit. They don't write for being a woman. They use vague medical terms to hide the embarrassment, not to leave on the historical record that a woman served. Captain Clark writes coldly, "This man is a feeble constitution, ... quotes. They annul her. They take the uniform she sweated to honor, take the rifle she cleaned every night, take the salary she earned. They put her outside the fort gates, in the middle of the New Mexico desert, with nothing. The adventure is over. Reality is back. What happens to a hero when the mask falls? What happens when the movie ends and life goes on? Cathay Williams is alone in the desert. Sick, poor, no transport. Most people would have died there, would have given up. But Cathay has already proven she is not most people. She works, she goes back to being invisible. Cook for an officer's family, laundress, seamstress. She migrates to Colorado, to the town of Trinidad, a frontier town, hard, at the foot of the mountains, full of miners and gunmen. She tries to live a normal life. She gets married. But fate is cruel. Her husband is a scoundrel. He steals the little money she had, steals her horses, steals her jewelry, and abandons her. Does she report him to the police? He gets arrested. But does she recover anything? No. She moves on. She learned that the law was not made for her. She learned she can only count on herself. Years pass. The 1890s arrive. Cathay is old before her time. The body, which was her shield, is now her prison. Diabetes consumes her. She suffers a stroke. She loses her toes to amputation due to gangrene. She needs to walk on crutches. The woman who marched 500 miles carrying weight can now barely make it to the door of her house to get water. She lives in misery. And then she takes one last soldier's stand, one last offensive against the system. She decides that the United States government owes her. She files for an invalid pension. She goes to the government office, leaning on her crutches. She sits before the agent, and she tells the truth for the first time in decades. She says who she is. "My name is Cathay Williams, but you know me as William Cathay. I served in the 38th Infantry Regiment. Company A, I was a Buffalo soldier. My health was destroyed in the service. I gave my years, my health, and my blood. I want my pension." The agent is stunned. He checks the dusty records. The name William Cathay is there. The dates match. The description matches. A doctor examines Cathay and confirms. The scars, the foot problems, everything matches the hard military life of the frontier. The case goes to Washington. It is analyzed by bureaucrats in suits and ties who never held a rifle. The precedent is dangerous. If they pay the pension, they will be officially admitting that the black woman served in the regular army. They would be validating the fraud. They would be opening a door they didn't want to open. They would be saying a woman did a man's job. The answer arrives in 1892. Denied the official reason. No proof of disability connected to service. A dirty bureaucratic lie. They denied it because she was a woman. They denied it because she was black. They denied it because she fooled them, and the state's ego does not forgive humiliation. Cathay Williams dies shortly after, 1893, alone, in a simple wooden house in Trinidad, Colorado. Her grave was marked with simple wood, which time and snow rotted away. She died knowing the country she defended didn't want her. She died as a forgotten footnote in the history of the West. But here we are, more than 150 years later. The wooden grave rotted. The officers who discharged her turned to dust. The bureaucrats who denied her pension were forgotten. But the name Cathay Williams resurrected. Why do we tell her story today? Not just because she was the first, but because she was the glitch in the matrix. She was the error in the system. She looked the most rigid, masculine, and oppressive system in the world, the 19th century American army, and said, "I am getting in there." And she got in, without invitation, without permission, without asking leave. She hacked reality. She proved that barriers of gender and race are often just mental barriers. She proved that, under the uniform, courage has no sex, competence has no gender. The bullet that leaves the rifle doesn't ask who is pulling the trigger. The desert doesn't ask if you are a man or a woman before killing you. She lived a lie, she lived a truth, the truth that she was capable. She sacrificed her name, her body, and her health for a glimpse of power and freedom. For 2 years, she wasn't an ex-slave. She was a Union soldier, and no one can take that away from her. Today, Cathay Williams is not just a historical curiosity. She is the patron saint of the saint of the invisible. The icon of anyone who has ever had to hide who they were just to have a chance to survive, just to have a chance to eat. Now I ask you, who listened this far, what is the uniform you are being forced to wear today? What is the role that society, your family, your boss said is the only one for you? Did they say you are too old to start? Too young to lead? Not enough education? The wrong color? The wrong gender? Remember William Cathay. Remember the woman who cut her own hair, bound her chest until she couldn't breathe, and marched in the desert because the alternative was to be nothing. She refused the destiny they gave her, and she wrote her own with her own boots, step by step, blood by blood. The world will not give you permission to be great. The world will try to put you in the laundry. You have to take the rifle. You have to invade the fort. You have to enlist in your own army. If this story lit something inside you, if you felt the weight of her journey, if you felt the heat of that desert, leave a like, share this video. Let's make her name be spoken out loud. Let's give her the pension of recognition history denied her. And write in the comments your rank of war, your cry of freedom. I accept nitrogen monoxide limits. History is written by the winners, they say, but sometimes it is rewritten by the imposters who were better than the heroes. See you on the front. Ouchie.